The third great sage was cultivating in the Immortal Spring. At that time, someone called her Little Sage? Then, a girl with pink hair came and put her melon against the third great sage's back, hugged her, and said, "You came to the Immortal Spring to cultivate again." Then third great sage replied, "Yes." Then the girl said, "You work so hard, why don't I help you relax now?" Then she started massaging the third great sage's melon. Immediately the third great sage responded, "Hey, Yao Zuan, you, don't cause trouble." Then the third great sage laid Yao Zuan down on a rock and laid down on top of her, their two melons pressing against each other. Then they both sat up, and the third great sage said to Yao Zuan, "The heavenly Tao is about to open the path towards becoming a god. Both of us have been stagnant in the immortal emperor realm for a long time. I must work hard to deserve walking down the path and then becoming a god." Yao Zuan held the third great sage's cheek and said, "Don't worry. The path that you are working towards, I'll accompany you." Then the third great sage said, "Later there was bloodshed and many corpses on that path. After Yao Zuan and I parted ways, we didn't see each other again." Ning Tian then asked the third great sage, "Senior, may I ask how Senior Yao Zuan helped you relax?" Then the third great sage calmly replied, "Boy, believe it or not, I'll make sure you stay here with me forever." And Ning Tian smiled awkwardly and said, "I just wanted to lighten up the gloomy atmosphere." Then Elder Kinglin said to the third great sage, "Senior, please rest assured, we'll fulfill the great emperor's last wish." Then the third great sage told Ning Tian, "Boy, don't waste my inheritance." And Ning Tian replied, "Don't worry, Senior, I'll definitely make your skills famous in the whole domain." Hearing that, the third great sage smiled and began to vanish, shouting at the same time, "Yao Zuan, here I come." After that, Saintess asked Ning Tian, "Patriarch, since we promised to bring Senior back to Yaoqi, do you also wish to come with us?" And Ning Tian said, "Back to Yaoqi?" At the same time he thought, "If I don't go home after I'm done here, my wife will definitely rip me to pieces. But it's the sage, and rejecting her like this would be a bit." Then the great elder gestured to Ning Tian, and said something. And Ning Tian nodded. And there the saintess waited patiently in the distance for Ning Tian's answer. Then the great elder said to Ning Tian, "Ahem, Patriarch. Now that you have the inheritance, in order to prevent others from trying to steal it, it's better to return to the heavenly demonic sect as soon as possible." And then Ning Tian showed a thumbs up to the great elder and said, "Oh, yes, Grand Elder, you're right." Then Ning Tian said to the saintess, "Saint, I'm sorry, I'll definitely visit next time." And saintess replied, "Okay." Then suddenly the tomb started to collapse. A broken part of the tomb fell off and hit the saintess. Because of that, the saintess began to lean on Ning Tian. Seeing that, Ning Tian and the saintess both blushed. Then Ning Tian and the great elder quickly came out of the tomb. At the same time, Ning Tian said, "Saint, you should stay here and protect the tomb." "Grand Elder, let's go and check what's going on." And Great Elder replied, "Yes." Ning Tian and the Great Elder came out of the tomb and saw a corpse lying there. And seeing that Great Elder shouted, "A black dragon mount? Who's that bold?" Then Elder Tianfeng laughed and said, "Ha ha ha, you're finally out, you bastard." After seeing them, the Great Elder said to them, "Tianfeng, Jian Mei, what are you doing? Do you wish to steal the inheritance?" Then those two began to rush towards Ning Tian and the Great Elder, and at the same time said, "We not only want your inheritance, but your life too." Then the Great Elder got angry and began to emit aura, and at the same time said, "Just the two of you? We'll have to see if I will let you." Then those two elders said, "A peak celestial, close to the immortal emperor realm, you're very strong indeed. But your opponent is not us." Then suddenly another man came from behind the two elders. And Great Elder was surprised to see him and said, "First Sword Sect's leader? Benevolent Sword?" Then Benevolent Sword attacked the Great Elder, and the strike landed on him. After taking the hit, he was flung through the air and fell to the ground. At that moment, Ning Tian rushed to the Great Elder and shouted, "Great Elder, are you okay?" And Great Elder replied, "Patriarch, run, he's a true immortal emperor." After that, Benevolent Sword said to Ning Tian, "You're the heavenly demonic sect's patriarch. and Ning Tian then looked at him and thought, damn it, such bad luck. I always stumble upon these strong immortal emperors. Then Benevolent Sword attacked Ning Tian and said, ha, an Earth King realm trash. Seeing that, the two elders got happy and thought, ha 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 ha, the brat's finally going to die. At that moment, the attack from the Benevolent Sword struck Ning Tian's face, and a purple-colored smoke filled the area. Slowly the smoke began to clear, and Ning Tian started to emerge from it, shouting what happened. A second-star immortal emperor realm couldn't kill a mere Earth King realm. After that, Ning Tian asked the system, isn't my facial defense a bit too high? And the system replied, generally yes. But the host needs to pay attention to the fact that if any other part of the host's body but the face is attacked, it'll be slicked up to pieces like tofu at the slightest touch. Then the Benevolent Sword said to Ning Tian, I don't believe such a thing. A mere Earth King realm. I can't harm you? And he immediately attacked Ning Tian. Seeing that, Ning Tian panicked and thought, damn it, you don't mean to tell me that I have to take this with my face, right? It's so fast, there's no way to catch it. At that moment the Benevolent Sword shouted, arrogant brat, and struck Ning Tian forcefully. Ning Tian, after taking the hit, was flung through the air and crashed into the ground. Ning Tian then steadied himself and stood up. At that moment the Saintess approached him and said, Patriarch, are you okay? Seeing this, the Benevolent Sword was surprised and thought, he, a mere Earth King realm, was affected by the aftershock of my attack while standing so close. But he didn't sustain a heavy injury? Ning Tian then calmly replied to the Saintess, I'm fine. At that very moment, a system notification appeared before Ning Tian, saying, shock the Benevolent Sword. Reward earned, teleportation card. Teleportation card, short distance shift movement, one-time use. Suddenly there the third great sage appeared and said, how dare a mere quasi-emperor harm my heir? Then the Benevolent Sword replied, so it's the third great sage's tomb. But even if you're an emperor in your lifetime, what about it? You're dead now. How many moves can achieve a mere spirit? Watch out, I'll grind you to dust. Then the third great sage got angry and said, ah, you crazy man, I'll kill you in a few moves. Then she turned to Ning Tian and said, boy, watch carefully. I'll show you the fist and palm skills for the last time. And Ning Tian replied, this junior is watching. Then the third great sage activated fist and palm skills and shouted, the palm must be strong enough to move through mountains and rivers. She then launched a palm strike at the Benevolent Sword. Seeing this, the Benevolent Sword got startled and muttered, such a strong suppression. He quickly activated the 10,000 Swords shield to block the third great sage's palm strike, at the same time thinking, damn it. Is this the power of a great emperor? It's just a remnant spirit, but I still can't resist it. Suddenly a golden beam of light appeared, and a voice echoed, this type of showy move is representative of the Tao of the palm and Tao of the fist. Then from within the light, a figure emerged. Seeing that figure, the third great sage got stunned and muttered, this QI is. But before he could finish, the Benevolent Sword shouted, leader, you're here. Meanwhile the Saintess tells the great righteous emperor. Ning Tian added, I didn't expect to see that old man here. The great righteous emperor, holding a powerful aura in his hand, tells, disperse, remnant spirit. And he began exerting immense pressure on the third great sage. And the third great sage struggling and said, damn it, if I were still alive. And on the other hand Saintess cried out, no, we haven't brought the third great sage to Yaochi yet. And third great sage tells, such a shame, in the end, I couldn't be buried next to her. But at that moment Ning Tian rushed in, and before the full pressure could be applied, pulled the third great sage to safety. And then the third great sage tells Ning Tian, boy, thank you. And Ning Tian replied, no worries, it's what I should do. At the same time, Ning Tian thinking, fortunately the system gave me that teleportation card, but even if we all joined forces, I'm afraid we can't beat this guy. What now? Meanwhile the great righteous emperor, observe everything, got surprised and thinking, how can you save anyone right under my nose with such a low cultivation? There's something off about that kid. At that moment, a system notification popped up in front of Ning Tian, saying, you shocked the righteous emperor. Reward earned, Great Emperor Summoning Card. Great Emperor Summoning Card, you can summon an emperor. Disregards spatial movement, one-time use. Seeing this, Ning Tian thought, Great Emperor summoning card. Right on time. He then stood confidently and said, Senior Saint, leave this to me. Then Ning Tian walked up and stood before the great righteous emperor. And he began applying pressure to Ning Tian and saying, You're just a mere Earth King realm. Do you have the courage to challenge me? Then Ning Tian replied, When you're running away with your tail between your legs later, you'll see where this courage comes from. At that moment, Ning Tian tells to System, use the Great Emperor summoning card. Summon Luo Wuking and Queen Mother of the West. Immediately, multiple system notifications popped up. The Great Emperor summoning card has been used. Summoning Luo Wuking and Queen Mother of the West. Summoned. As the blue aura gathered in the air, the third great sage tells, This is a Great Emperor's aura, and it's two of them. And Saintess added, Weird, why does one feel so familiar, and the other? Queen Mother of the West. Suddenly there Luo Wuking and the Queen Mother of the West appear. And Luo Wuking got surprised and shouted, Just now, I was forcibly pulled into a void. And the Queen Mother of the West added, Me too, I was about to shower. And seeing them, the great righteous emperor shout, Luo Wuking, Queen Mother of the West. And at the same time he thinking, what trick did that brat use to summon both of them in an instant? Then Luo Wuking noticed Ning Tian and asked angrily, Who harmed you? And Ning Tian complained to him like a child, Wife, it's that guy who's bullying the weak. Seeing that, the great righteous emperor got annoyed and said, That brat. Then Luo Wuking got very angry and asked the great righteous emperor, as an emperor, isn't it a bit inappropriate to attack an Earth King realm? Then the great righteous emperor said, Queen Mother of the West, your Yaoqi is known to be neutral. You have never involved yourself in conflicts. Are you picking sides now? And the Queen Mother calmly replied, I advise you to think about apologizing first. Then the great righteous emperor tells, What? I am a great emperor, the leader of the righteous alliance. But before the great righteous emperor could finish his words, he suddenly felt a terrifying pressure. Then he noticed that Luo Wuking was preparing to attack and shouted, No matter who you are, if you hurt my husband, I will end you. And then Luo Wuking took out a weapon and said, Righteous Emperor, do you really think you can provoke my heavenly demonic sect with the power of your little righteous alliance? Seeing this, the great righteous emperor shouted, An immortal weapon? Luo Wuking, think this through carefully. We're both emperors. If we fight, the whole mountain range will be left in shambles. Luo Wuking replied, Hey, why should I care? And instantly charged forward to attack. Seeing this, Ning Tian was astonished and said, Her Tao of the sword has reached sagehood? At that moment the third great sage said to Ning Tian, Boy, watch their fight carefully. You don't see two emperors fighting every day. Your wife is a formidable opponent. Ning Tian thought to himself, Luo Wuking has never used such a strong attack in front of me before. My wife has truly been hiding her talent. At that moment, Luo Wuking rapidly charged towards the great righteous emperor to attack, and the great righteous emperor tried to block her strike by creating an energy shield. Suddenly there was a massive energy explosion, and debris from the mountain began flying towards Ning Tian and the others. And at that moment the Queen Mother appeared from behind the third great sage, and used her flute skills to stop the flying debris from reaching Ning Tian and the others. The Queen Mother then said to Ning Tian, Looks like your dear wife is really angry. Then, she called out to Luo Wuking, make sure not to hurt your dear husband with your might, while attacking the great righteous emperor. Luo Wuking replied, Stop being so noisy, you also have a purpose here. Protect him, I won't be holding back. And immediately, she started rushing towards the great righteous emperor again to attack. The great righteous emperor created an aura shield, trying to block her attack, and cursed, Damn it. Meanwhile, Ning Tian watched everything unfold and thought to himself, One day, I'll be as strong as you. Or even stronger. Moments later, Luo Wuking's attack struck the great righteous emperor, and he let out a scream, blood spilling from his mouth. He then yelled at her, Luo Wuking, you'll regret making an enemy of my righteous alliance over a mere brat. Ning Tian then shout, My wife is the winner. And Luo Wuking replied, But he's always been someone who's afraid of death. I guess he might not even be here in person. Then she approached the great righteous emperor and said, "It's merely a shadow of a great emperor, who shouldn't dare overstep his bounds." After that, she finished him off. Seeing this, an elder remarked, "The Empress is too strong." The righteous emperor was actually. Just then, the benevolent sword shouted, "Run quickly." As they tried to escape, Luo Wuking said, "Where do you think you're going?" She immediately attacked them, and the strike landed on them. They screamed in agony and died. After all this, Luo Wuking descended to Ning Tian and asked him, "How are you feeling now?" Ning Tian replied, "I'm okay now, thank you, dear wife. You're so kind to me." Seeing the lovey-dovey moment between Ning Tian and Luo Wuking, the Queen Mother cleared her throat and said, "Ahem, you two should stop with the public displays of affection." She then asked Ning Tian, "Patriarch, I was just about to take a bath when I was dragged here. Was it you who did it?" Then Ning Tian asked, "Ah, a bath?" And Queen Mother replied, "Yes, if I had already been in the bath, what would have happened then? You must explain yourself properly." Guys, what do you think would have happened if Ning Tian had summoned the Queen Mother a little later? Let me know in the comments. Hearing that, Ning Tian started sweating and said, "Well, at the same time thinks I can't tell them I had a great emperor summoning card, right?" At that moment, Luo Wuking said to the Queen Mother, "Ning Tian has his own ways. Let's put this aside and not speak of it anymore." Ning Tian then hid behind Luo Wuking like a little puppy and said, "Thank you for helping me out, wife." Seeing this, the Queen Mother thought, "He's becoming more and more mysterious." At that moment, Saintess shouted, "Senior, what's happening?" Then Third Great Sage replied, "I'm just a remnant spirit. My fate has been sealed." As he slowly began to disappear, the Saintess said to the Queen Mother, "Queen Mother of the West, the Third Great Sage wished to be buried next to Great Saintess Yao Zuan. Let's take her back quickly." And Queen Mother responded, "We're far from Yaoqi, and Senior wouldn't be able to hang on with these injuries." Then Third Great Sage said, "It's okay. Reaching the skies and meeting Yao Xuan earlier isn't so bad." She then approached Ning Tian and said, "Patriarch." And Ning Tian replied, "Don't worry, Senior. I won't let your legacy be forgotten." Then Third Great Sage said, "Thank you," and disappeared. After that, Ning Tian thought, "I'll become someone who can fight on equal terms with an emperor." Scene shift, Heavenly Spiritual Domain, Zhongzhou. Righteous Alliance Hidden Chamber. Someone spat blood onto the floor. It was none other than the great righteous emperor himself. Sitting in a chair, he muttered, "Luo Wuking, because of that damn husband of hers. She actually destroyed my strongest shadow clone. And Yaoqi, they dare to help the heavenly demonic sect. They don't take us seriously." At that moment, someone began speaking to him through a void mirror. "You're so angry. Did I call at the wrong time?" Then Great Righteous Emperor responded, "Void God. When did you come out of seclusion? Yaoqi's Queen Mother of the West has gotten close with the heavenly demonic sect lately. If they cooperate, wouldn't our plan fail?" And Void God replied, "Ha ha ha, don't worry about it. I have started to faintly reach the border of the next realm." Hearing this, the Great Righteous Emperor became excited and shout, "No way. You don't have guidance towards the path to becoming a god, and you haven't joined the battle of the god's throne. How did you reach the god realm?" Then Void God answered, "Although I'm no true god, I'm one tier stronger than a great emperor. I call it the false god. Just wait, Yaoqi, the heavenly demonic sect, and that damned patriarch will all crumble dead under my feet."